So now we are live on YouTube. So good morning and welcome everyone. So today we are going to be doing ecosystems part 2, which is a follow-up of the first session. And this session is being brought to you by the Indian Oil Corporation Limited from their financial assistance. And I will soon share the PPT. I'll quickly run through it so that you know what all we did last time. So the images will help you recognize what we did last time. So we went through the needs of organisms, some needs which are met in our house, but there are multiple others which our household doesn't meet, and that's why organisms come and go. And then we talked about living beings inside a pond in a natural system, and there, I mean, lots of beings live, and we came to the what they eat, and particularly the question of what the smallest living beings eat. And we realized that there are things that we cannot see, which are at the basis of supporting life through food. So microscopic living beings, including plants and animals, which feed all life to begin with, and then in a pond, how under a microscope we will see lots of organisms, and how a pond meets all the needs of living beings living inside. And we saw some a beautiful video also. Then we came to the important discussion of, I mean, why a pond doesn't get dirty, or what happens to waste in a pond, and how the pond changes with seasons, and life also changes. And there are a lot of biotic and abiotic factors which have large number of interconnections and interdependencies, interrelationships, lots of relationships which we can specify. And the sum total of these relationships actually define an ecosystem. We defined the word ecosystem and showed what kind of interconnections exist between species, within a species, or with the environment. And that's how we define an ecosystem. And then definitions of population, community, ecosystem, biosphere, and so on. And then some very specific interactions which we call as, we may call them predation or competition or mutualism or neutralism, and so on. So we gave you examples, and parasitism, and then the discussion on whether now some counter examples or some alternative examples where you have to judge whether they are an ecosystem or not. After defining an ecosystem, we reach the place where we can ask the question whether an aquarium is an ecosystem, where a zoo enclosure is an ecosystem, where a human dwelling is an ecosystem, which is actually quite a ticklish example. It's not easy to say why a human dwelling is not an ecosystem, because we ourselves are animals and we live inside our dwelling, which is part of a larger area. So why it is or isn't an ecosystem, and same for the sheep farm and eventually an agriculture field. This is where we stop. And now I want you to quickly, some of you to quickly say on chat, why an agriculture field? Have you decided about the agriculture field, why it is not an ecosystem? We believe it is not an ecosystem. It's a counter example. So you have to justify that, why it is not an ecosystem. So any reasons now that you can say? And if you're not convinced, please feel free to counter me, and I will try to justify my reasoning from myself. So reasons why we cannot call an agricultural field an ecosystem. So two people have raised hands. We'll allow them to unmute. So there's Geeta Sapkota and there's another person. Currently, I can see Geeta Sapkota only. I'll stop sharing. So Ruth Pradhan has said that there is no interaction with other species as pesticides are sprayed and weeds are also uprooted. So Ruth Pradhan, excellent. So we can see that some organisms are consciously killed through pesticides or sprays. They are killed and also weeds are uprooted. So not every organism is allowed to come up in this system. Any other like reasoning? So anyone else want to give? So not all species are allowed here. There are very specific species which are allowed. So Nirmal Thapa is saying there's prey and predator involved. So perhaps Nirmal Thapa is calling the human the predator, but here it's not a question of human having a human being a natural predator and everything else or some things being the human prey. Here the human is the super species. We'll not even call the human a predator. Human is the super controller. Prem Kumar Buragai is saying it is not an ecosystem as they try to disbalance the ecosystem as every species has a right to live in a field of environment. Yes, absolutely. So in a natural ecosystem, every species has a right to live. Of course, the species may face dangers. They may face predators. They may face other kind of dangers. They may die also, but it's not as if the objective of an ecosystem is towards the wishes of one species. No species wishes are the supreme. I mean, even if there is a natural predator, I mean, if you think of lions and cheetahs also get killed or they face dangers, they face attacks. Sometimes they face starvation as well. So, any other reasoning? Which you think makes this an agricultural field a non-ecosystem? Yeah, people are interfering. I mean, human is not interfering alone. Human is deciding interactions in this ecosystem to a very large extent. A lot of it can't be decided, but the humans drive away birds, they drive away rats or kill rats, or other pests are killed and weeds are uprooted. Only a single species has permission to thrive, which is here, it's a rice field. So only a single species is allowed to thrive beyond the natural limits. I mean, the agricultural field is for a single thriving of a single species at the wish of the human. So yeah, so as Geeta Sapkota said, human beings are manipulating the field as per their convenience. So no natural ecosystem has a single species which is allowed to thrive at the cost of everything else. So here rice field will take the maximum nutrients. Rice plants will take the maximum nutrients, the manure and everything from the soil nutrients as well as water. So everything is reserved for the rice sake because the human wishes it like that. So this is a very specific objective. An ecosystem, natural ecosystem doesn't have objectives like this. It's like whatever organisms live or come, their needs just go on and they decide what happens inside an ecosystem. So other argument given here is it does not get food from outside. So in a rice field, we may put fertilizers from outside, but an ecosystem does not get material from outside. All the needs are met from within the ecosystem. So that's also one important part. All needs have to be met. If the ecosystem cannot meet the needs, organisms either run away, fly away, go away, or die. Another argument is that wastes generated in an ecosystem are food for other organisms. So no wastes need to be removed or taken away. Here in a rice field, there are not wastes of the excretory kinds, but yeah, weeds would be seen as waste. So weeds are either killed or uprooted. So the third argument is an ecosystem does not exist for a single or for a few species only. No preferred species. So here the preferred species is rice. Similarly, in all the examples we showed, there were preferred species which was decided by humans. And those species had special rights. All other species had to leave their rights to live or thrive or utilize that region. I mean, the same thing applies to a human dwelling as well. Another important thing is the composition of an ecosystem, a natural ecosystem need not remain constant. Some species may become less, they may die, some may increase, new species may come in every time it achieves another state of balance. So in a natural ecosystem, like we saw in a pond, it changes season to season. There can be other ways. I mean, some new species may come and the balance changes to some other level. But whatever happens, it achieves other states of balance, but it need not remain constant. Like rice fields or agriculture or in cattle farms and all that, humans decide the balance. I mean, humans decide what balance will be remain, and it is normally maintained constant for quite some time. So now we are in a position to say major difference between an ecosystem and a non-ecosystem. Will you please tell me major differences, important differences? Now, after seeing so many counter examples, we should be able to say differences. If you want to speak, you just have to tell us and we'll unmute you. So major differences are friends, if no answers come, I get very troubled. I keep wondering whether whether whatever we are saying is actually being heard or listened to and is convincing you or not. So if only some people speak or nobody speaks, then it's very troublesome for us as teachers. So Ruth Pradhan is saying interactions with the environment. Ruth Pradhan, they may exist in both. We gave so many examples of non-ecosystems also, and they had all interactions. I suppose you were not present in the last session, as far as I can see. That's why we talked a lot about, I mean, there are interactions even in an agriculture field or in a sheep farm or aquarium or zoo enclosure or a human dwelling. So, so what is it? What differences between an ecosystem and non-ecosystem? Anybody wants to speak and say? No answer. No other answer from anybody who were present last time, and I have just now said quite a few things which will also be useful for answering this question. Major difference between an ecosystem and a non-ecosystem. Chung Shang Lipcha is saying ecosystem is interaction between biotic and abiotic. So biotic and abiotic interaction happens in non-ecosystems also. Agricultural field, you will see a lot of interactions between soil, water, sunlight, and plants and other organisms. So Ram Kumar Sharma has given a very powerful argument that ecosystem is self-sufficient, whereas non-ecosystem is not. An ecosystem will not bring food from outside or other materials from outside, will not take waste away and throw them outside. So like Pammi Basnet has said that manipulation is there in non-ecosystem. Yeah, so in a non-ecosystem, the examples at least we took, there was always manipulation by humans. So in a naturally developed ecosystem, that manipulation by somebody else outside is not there. Only living organisms inside will do whatever with their system. So Vivo 1820 is saying one is controlled, the other is not. Yes, I mean, the examples that we gave may be controlled. I mean, see, a building is a non-ecosystem. So, I mean, it may not be actually controlled, or I mean, non-ecosystem like can have anything that's not an ecosystem is a non-ecosystem. But the distinguishing thing is that an ecosystem is not controlled, ecosystem is self-sufficient. Geeta Sapkota is saying, Thukden is saying in ecosystem species are interdependent and vice versa. True Thukden, but interdependence also exists, let's say, in other systems, like we saw in aquarium or in even agriculture field, there may be interdependence. I mean, like an agriculture field will depend on insects for pollination, for example, right? But it's not a natural ecosystem. So Geeta Sapkota is saying a natural ecosystem, the organisms live in their natural habitat, yes. But in non-ecosystem, the organisms are not free to live in their natural habitat. Yes, very good answer. So Prem Kumar Guragai is saying, ecosystem is a system which is raised towards environment related, but they should be naturally occurring. Similarly, non-ecosystem is ecosystem, but not related towards environment related, but they should be artificially. So there is an artificial element in non-ecosystems. There's something being managed from outside, but not normally by humans. So yeah, so there is this element of artificiality, which Darshika is also saying. Lakshman is saying there's mutual benefits in ecosystems, whereas in non-ecosystem, nutritional manipulation is there. Yeah, mutual benefit can exist in a non-ecosystem also. See, I mean, after all, I just gave the example of pollination. Pollination may happen between a non-ecosystem also. And in a natural ecosystem, there is mutual benefit, there's mutual damage also. When there's predators and prey, there's killing involved. But nobody from outside is manipulating it. Naturally, the predators are killing and the organisms are being eaten or dying. There are some beneficial relations, some are damaging relations. Lava Hari Nepal is saying one is balanced. Lava, you will have to elaborate what do you mean by balanced? Balanced in what sense? I mean, we can say that agriculture field is also balanced, or aquarium is also balanced. What do you mean by balanced? So you have to like give your reasoning to the full. So we've generally got good answers. So I will show what we have written here. Like somebody said also, but it is self-sustaining. It will sustain by itself. I mean, it will of course reach different stages at different times, but that will happen naturally by itself. Nobody will come from outside and do it for the ecosystem. It will sustain itself. All processes in an ecosystem are cyclic. They keep happening by themselves without other interventions. We saw that waste will go back into the ecosystem as food. So there's a cycle involved, and without any interventions from outside, all this goes on. So I have a question here. When we say it is self-sustaining, does it mean it cannot be disrupted? What do you think? Can it be disrupted? a natural ecosystem which was sustaining itself, think of a pond or a lake or a forest, can it be disrupted? Or it can't be disrupted? Lavahari, since you dropped out, I had asked that your answer was one is balanced. I was asking in what sense do you mean that it is balanced? And I'm now asking the second question. When we say an ecosystem is self-sustaining, yes, Lavahari, I realized because you had come to the waiting room. So yeah, you dropped out because of network problem. So now people are saying that ecosystem can be disrupted. And we see this all the time. I mean, even if it's self-sustaining, it doesn't mean that it's permanent. We have across the world, we have seen that a large number of ecosystems are being disrupted by human intervention. It could be disrupted by natural causes also. I mean, like a volcano erupts and ecosystems around the volcano die. That can also happen, but so it can be disrupted, or then it may not sustain. But currently, a lot of ecosystems are disrupted because of excessive human intervention. And one very, very powerful example is how coral reefs across the world are getting bleached, which means only their skeletons are remaining. As you can see on the right hand side, this is like bleached corals which look white, but there is no life here. The living corals, as seen on the left, are like teeming with organisms. There's a lot of life, many organisms living there. Yeah, so Geeta Sapurta is saying they are disturbed by natural calamities like floods, landslides, earthquake also. Yes, but whenever they get disrupted, they re-established also in nature. But in the case of human disruption, I mean, this coral bleaching is happening because of climate change. So this is one very glaring example where life is dying large scale. Can there be anything called a man-made ecosystem? Why or why not? Do you think there can be a man-made ecosystem? Because some people said that they said that an agriculture field or a human dwelling is a man-made ecosystem. Can we call them man-made? Can an ecosystem be man-made? Arvind Basnet is saying yes. How about others? Do other people agree that another person has said yes? Tenchu Lepcha is also said. Many people are saying it can be man-made. So artificial ecosystem like aquarium is an example of man-made. So actually, like we were trying to show, Sunaina is also saying, many people are saying aquarium, etc., which are manipulated. Vivo is saying no, it can't. Only it can be manipulated. So see, aquarium, etc., are not ecosystems. We are saying because it won't self-sustain. Sarita Sharma is saying pond ecosystem. So you see, we have now what the examples you are giving are, some are non-ecosystems and some are ecosystems. So let me take them. Suppose aquarium. We said an ecosystem has to self-sustain without outside intervention. That cannot happen in a pond or a sheep farm. So it gets food from outside. It takes waste outside. So there's nothing like self-sustaining about it. So calling it ecosystem is not correct. Calling it an artificial ecosystem is actually not correct. It's not an ecosystem where all the species cannot live, only certain species are allowed to live. Then it will not be an ecosystem, not even an artificial ecosystem. I mean, at least it must meet the definition of an ecosystem. Redmi Note has said a garden can be an artificial ecosystem. So, okay, let's see a garden and a natural forest. The thing is, in a garden is also on the wishes of a human being. A human being comes and brings the plants of his choice or her choice, feeds them with manure, feeds and maybe remove some grasses or etc. So again, it is on the human's wishes. So we will and in a natural forest, everything grows. I mean, a lot many weeds grow, many species come, many plant species come from outside and take root there. They establish themselves at the cost of some other plants, but I mean, new plants or new animal species keep coming in, and so on. So I mean, we think, I mean, some books do say that there is an artificial ecosystem, but we think that an ecosystem is not, there's nothing in an ecosystem is consciously chosen by somebody outside for a specific purpose. Not like you want to produce rice, so you make an ecosystem. No. So it's, there is no external objective out of which things are consciously. Even in a garden, you consciously choose plants. So you may choose beautiful plants, you may choose plants which are useful or beautiful or good, and throw away those which are, or cut away those which are not acceptable to you. So it's not an ecosystem. uh, in an ecosystem, everything happens spontaneously, driven by natural needs of organisms. If organisms need to eat, they need to breed, they need to increase their population, whatever. Everything is happening because of what organisms are doing naturally. So no inputs are deliberately or purposely brought in or taken out. So humans may initiate ecosystems. We are saying that sometimes, and a lot of times actually, we have many examples across the world. Suppose some region has gotten degraded, as is shown in this slide, left hand side, you can see that this region had become completely degraded, because maybe because of humans only, or maybe because of fire or something. But so this lady worked hard by initially bringing in some plants. So she brought back life, but all interactions were later established naturally by species themselves. Later, plants bred themselves, microorganisms grew naturally, other plants, other grasses, shrubs, bushes, everything came naturally, then wildlife came naturally. So the lady initiated, but she is not interfering now. So that's the difference. If you say an artificial ecosystem, you can say an artificially initiated one, the one which was started, which humans are doing in many places, but interactions are then later established naturally. This lady will not decide. I saw this example only on the net. There are many such examples, even in our country. This lady will not decide which trees will remain and which will not, which bushes will remain, which will not, which wildlife will come or go away, which birds will come or go away. That's the important point. To be an ecosystem, it will have, life will have to move on naturally, only governed by the needs of the species. That's the major difference. Is there any doubt to what I'm saying? Any counter or any disagreement with what I'm saying? Because I think it's an important point. Otherwise, we'll end up calling a whole lot of things ecosystems, which are not ecosystems, where humans have come in and destroyed a lot, cut up a lot, gardens, there are monocultures, there are forests where there's only a single tree planted, and humans keep calling it a forest. I mean, a whole lot of plantations today are like that. So I mean, what I am saying must make sense to you, so that you can distinguish between an ecosystem and a non-ecosystem. It's an important point. You know, I mean, even departments at times do this. I mean, they plant trees, and say we have established forests. Only some trees, a clump of trees is not a forest. The difference is that life must thrive and build itself and build its interactions naturally over a long time. And a natural ecosystem, an ecosystem takes a long time and then later does not need outside interventions. It thrives by itself. Am I making myself clear? Or you have any disagreement? Please feel free to disagree with me. I mean, if you have another opinion, please give it. Otherwise, there's no point that I thrust my views on you. I will, or our session will try to give its own reasoning and logic, but you are free to disagree. I mean, your disagreement may exist in your mind. You may not say so here, but here you are free to say also. If you are fine with the reasoning I am giving, I will move ahead. So please say if you are fine. Say yes or no. So many people have said that I can proceed, but even if one person has a disagreement, please feel free to say it here. We are adults talking to each other. We should even try that we can talk like this to children. Children should be able to disagree with us. There's no point keeping disagreements only in the mind. It should come out and we should be able to logically support our answer with reasoning. We should be able to justify our answer, give reasoning why I think so. That is true science, when you can justify what you think. Okay, so many people have expressed agreement, which is good. I mean, that makes me feel at least I'm partially successful in convincing you. So I am now proceeding ahead. I am saying that humans can also intervene by bringing back dead species, like the species which got extinct in one area, then they were brought from outside. This is also done sometimes, or making provisions that sustain existing ones. For example, building water holes. These days, forest departments are building water holes in many places where water holes have dried up. So this kind of intervention is also possible, but please notice that rest of the ecosystem exists by itself. I mean, the animals and plants are there. Humans are just bringing in some water because existing ones is being damaged. Existing provisions have become damaged due to some, often due to human intervention or because of climate changing very drastically. So water holes is a very common artificial intervention, but that doesn't make the ecosystem artificial because the all the other interactions have been developed naturally, historically in the region and are still developing naturally. Can you name some examples of natural ecosystems? You can name some very, very big ones. Huge big ecosystems. Forest, yes. And we know that there are many kinds of forests. Yes, absolutely. Forests are ecosystems and different kinds are different types. Yes, absolutely. Any other example of large oceans? Yes. Oceans, forests, yes, correct. Anything else amongst big ones? Ponds, yes. Yes, aquatic ones, ponds, lakes, rivers, mountains. Yes, so we can say hill forests, polar regions. Yes, Amazon forest, deserts. Yes, excellent. Terrestrial, yes. So there are many names. Now you can think of a very small ecosystem, tiny. Can you think of a very tiny one? Small ones, please. Garden. Like I said, a garden, if it is left naturally to grow for a long time and without human intervention, it will become an ecosystem. Yes, tree. So a tree bark or tree itself acts as an ecosystem. A whole lot of species live inside. Arpana Chetri saying standing water. Yes, a water, I mean, a puddle of water, if it stays for a long, long time, then naturally species may develop inside and start fulfilling their needs. It's important their needs are being fulfilled. So tree trunk, yes. Under a rock, yes, excellent. Similarly, our skin is an ecosystem. So there are organisms living naturally on our skin and they thrive there, feed there, and there are many varieties. There are microorganisms even on our skin. Our stomach is a very good example. Not only our stomach, guts of most organisms are themselves ecosystems where bacteria of various kinds, bacteria and microorganisms thrive. So these are tiny ecosystems. Normally, we are obviously not able to see them. So here, okay, somebody is writing. So please be careful not to write. I'll just disable that. So forest ecosystem, then like you said, marine ecosystems, and normally natural ecosystems have a very large number of species. Grassland, where grasses are dominate over trees, even if there are very few trees, still grasslands have a large number of species. Of course, like you said, human gut, our stomach, our intestines, are a small ecosystem. And that brings us to a food chain. And you are all familiar with the food chain. A food chain is where one organism is eaten by somebody else, who's again eaten by somebody else, another organism, then another organism is eaten by somebody else. So we have shown one food chain here, but there can be many others. So can you find a food chain here? This is a very interesting example we found on the net. So can you locate a food chain here? It's a photograph. What can you see here and who eating what? So Geeta Sapkota is saying flow of energy is known as food chain in the environment. Geeta Sapkota, my humble request not to get into formal definitions. We are trying to help teachers present it simply so that children can understand. I mean, all formal definitions are written in textbooks, but we are unable to get them across to children because of formal words. So yes, so we can see a fly, we can see flies, we can see a bee, we can see a spider, and we can see a flower. Yes, correct. So who's eating who? So Priyadarshika has said nectar. She said nectar is being eaten by bee. Bee is eaten by flies. Is that correct? But there is a spider also. Vivo has said fly, spider, bee. So fly is eating the spider, spider is eating the bee. So Pema has said flower, bee, spider, fly. Ecosystem has said flower, nectar, bee, spider. Just be careful that you should not leave one organism here. So ecosystem has left out the fly. There are flies here also. Nectar, bee, fly. Instead of nectar, we'll say flower because flower is the organism. So pollen, bee, spider, fly. Yeah, as long as you are using the word flower, I'm fine. Probably that's what is happening, that the bee was actually feeding on the flower when the spider killed the bee, and then uh, then flies came to eat the whole this bunch. So perhaps, but it's an interesting food chain. Okay, now we come to a grassland ecosystem. So what animals can you think, animals or living beings? I mean, you can even think of plants. What animals and plants you can think of existing in this ecosystem? Grass, grasshopper, frog. I'm not asking for food chains. I'm just asking for butterflies, lion, deer, cheetah. Yes, yes, absolutely. Tiger. Think of small ones. Yeah, so we've thought of big ones, but there must be a lot of small ones, no? Locusts, yes, excellent. Crickets, yes. Ants, absolutely. Flies, yes. Earthworms, absolutely. Mice, snakes, butterflies, yes. Lion, deer, butterfly, tiger, grasshopper, crickets, ants, snake, frog, excellent. Microorganisms, excellent. Very nice. So dragonflies, yes, absolutely. So a large number of organisms are here. We can barely see any. I mean, seems blank other than grasses and one or two trees. It might seem blank, but it has a very, very vast number of organisms living here. So this is giving a standard food chain in a grassland ecosystem. But I mean, there's nothing standard. I mean, different grasslands will have different food chains. But here we notice the words producer. Somebody is making food, and here we are saying grass is primarily making food using sunlight. Sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. Grass is the producer of food, the basic food. And then grass is eaten by grasshopper, so that will become primary consumer, which only consumes. Then if grasshopper is eaten by bluebird, we will say that that bird is the secondary consumer, and then snake eats the bird, so it's tertiary consumer, and then owl eats the snake, so it becomes the apex predator, the top predator, which ends this chain. So that's the, so this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step chain. So there can be, of course, less or more steps. You are requested to make some food chains out of the organisms shown here. Try to make your chain as large as possible. Let's see who can reach 5 and beyond 5. You'll have to write the full food chain, one after another. It can be small or big. But we can see that it must start with a plant. I mean, if you want to show it written on a paper, You can start your video and show, but otherwise if you so one two three responses have come. Grass, grasshopper, frog, snake, hawk. Excellent. Grass, grasshopper, frog, snake, owl. Very nice. More. Grass, deer, lion. Yes. Grass, rabbit, fox. Yes. Grass, grasshopper, frog, snake, eagle. Eagle. Does eagle exist here? Eagle is not there in our current list. We were saying make with the current list. Any others? Grass, caterpillar, bird, grass, deer, lion. Yes. Grass, deer, lion is the simplest one, which is often told in books or otherwise by children also. I mean, you should encourage children and you should yourself try to make more complex ones. Complex ones and different ones. Grass, deer, lion is the simplest. Grass, grasshopper, frog, snake. Grass, grasshopper, frog, snail, owl. Yes, very nice. Grass, grasshopper, bird, snake, hawk. Yeah, so as you can see that we made many, and if we put them in as, connected to arrows, we will get something like this, a food web. If we were to link, you can see that here in this food web, at the bottom we have green plants. Green plants could be bushes or grass. Then all the primary consume this. So this is the primary producer. Green plants is the producer, which is producing food. So another one is come grass, grasshopper, frog, snake, hawk. Okay, so now above this comes the first level of consumers. So rabbit, deer, caterpillar, grasshopper are all those who eat plants. So they have been shown with dark green. So these are primary consumers. Then second level of consumers here are fox and frog. Fox eats rabbit, frog eats grasshopper. So with arrows, the second level of consumers shown with dark yellow and brown. And then the third level is shown as snake, which eats frog as well as caterpillar as well as rabbit. And then we have next level is bird and owl, which eat the snake and the grasshopper. Bird is also eaten by the owl. And then next, the top predators here are then lion and hawk. Lion for the land animals and hawk for the birds. So you can encourage children to make food webs in the class with whatever children write. So we can put them on the blackboard and ask them to make a web like this. And of course, if they show primary or secondary and so on with different colors, it will be nicer. They will get a sense of what is primary, who's the first one producing food, who's the first one consuming food, and then who's the second one consuming food, and so on. So food webs, this consumers and producers can be put in levels. As you all know, they are called trophic levels. Troph means nourishment of food. So these are food levels. So there are producers consumed by primary ones, then which are consumed by secondary ones, then which are consumed by tertiary consumers. And we have deliberately given them different colors so that we are able to later see them with more relationships. Currently, we know that somebody produces, others eat them step by step. So here, this is trophic levels again shown. This picture taken from the internet. On the left-hand side, it says a terrestrial food chain, which means a food chain built on the land. So there is plant eaten by a herbivore, which is eaten. So all primary, like primary producers, consumers, secondary and tertiary and quaternary. So here you can see plant eaten by herbivore, eaten by carnivore, one carnivore, which is eaten by another carnivore, which is eaten by another carnivore. So one chain is shown here. Here a marine food chain. So there is phytoplankton eaten by zooplankton, eaten by one carnivore, eaten by another carnivore, eaten by the third carnivore. So you can make your own, ask children to make their own in land or sea, whichever way, but this different levels must be shown. These trophic levels must be shown, and we should not start with trophic pyramids. First, this should be understood that who's eating who, and these are various levels. So lowest must be plants, and in between it could be herbivores, and then later it will be omnivores or carnivores. So when we talk about food webs, chains, and trophic levels, one important idea that we come across is that we get energy from food. Now, as teachers, it will be helpful to know that children take food as energy itself. They think food is energy. So do you think grass or seeds or meat or fruits, are they energy? Whatever is seen as food, is it energy? Yes or no? Sunaina Sharma is saying they are the source of energy. All right, but what are they? Scientifically, what will you say? What is grass? What is seeds? They are source of energy. All right, you get energy from them, but they are themselves not energy. Then what are they? If they are not energy, what will you call them? What will be the name you will use for them? Nutrients. Okay, nutrients. All right, but I'm saying that if you have to make two scientific categories, energy and non-energy, what is the word you will use for non-energy? The source of energy, I understand, but what is all the things in the world which are not energy, what are they? They have chemical energy, all right. So, but I'm asking what name will you give to all these seeds and grasses and meat and all that? What scientific category you will put them into? Produces, no, probably Geeta doesn't mean, what is, okay, so all I was saying was all food is matter. See, source of protein and all, we are not getting into their details. Geeta is saying producer, no, they are food. Meat is not a producer. They are food. So I was asking, what is food? Food is actually matter. All food is matter. Matter can be, I mean, mostly it is actually coming from living beings, some part of living beings or the full living being, but they are coming, all food is coming from living beings, and it is actually itself matter. It is not energy. It is important for us to teach children to distinguish between matter and energy, because it's a very helpful division and saves a lot of confusion. I mean, all matter has to be taken in, not all, the matter which qualifies as food has to be taken in, digested, and energy extracted from it. Energy is taken out of it. It resides inside, but it's not energy. I mean, you won't call these things as energy. These are materials or substances or matter, right? So it is, and this is something children don't understand neatly. So it's important to show that when matter undergoes chemical reactions. I mean, of course, this you can do with slightly older children, 9th and 10th, that when matter undergoes chemical changes or chemical reactions, chemical energy is either released or absorbed. Energy is something which is either given out or taken in. But for that, a chemical reaction has to happen with matter. Matter has to undergo some kind of chemical change or chemical reaction. And I'm deliberately giving here the example of a simple example of hydrogen and oxygen are going through a chemical change. So here on the right hand side, you can see hydrogen burning in air. So it's taking in oxygen. And this is the kind of reaction which will produce water, which means these two matter will recombine to create another kind of matter, and energy is given out. A whole lot of energy is given out when hydrogen burns. So in this chemical reaction, what matter is undergoing change with the release of energy. And the exact opposite of this reaction is if you take water and pass electricity through it in an electrolysis process, then electrical energy is taken and put into water, and this water, which is matter, undergoes chemical change to become hydrogen and oxygen, the reverse of the earlier reaction. But in the same opposite of the reaction, here we see energy absorption. So a chemical reaction may either give out energy, which we call as exothermic reactions, or it may take in energy, which are endothermic reactions. So what do you think when we eat food? Is it an endothermic reaction or exothermic reaction? I mean, food has to undergo chemical reaction. Yeah, so Geeta Sapkota has said oxidation of food gives energy, correct? So is it an endothermic reaction or exothermic reaction? Food undergoes chemical change. Does it absorb energy or give out energy? Yes, exothermic. It's a reaction which gives out energy, which our body utilizes. Our body, every living beings utilize a chemical reaction. That reaction is done on food and energy is released. This is important for children to understand. Otherwise, there's a lot of confusion in their minds. I mean, I've seen children thinking of protein as energy, carbohydrate as energy, meat as energy, or milk as energy, which is wrong. Okay, and I mean, okay, here if you want, inside bodies, energy is extracted from food. So the reverse chemical reaction is done, whatever is food. Here we are showing glucose. The food now undergoes a chemical reaction, an alternative one, where it releases the energy. So we are saying here that glucose like now undergoes a chemical reaction with oxygen. These are the way the changed materials, changed matter, and energy is given out. So here another exothermic reaction now gives out energy. I was just wondering, when food is digested, is it I mean, the previous thing, food giving out energy, this is the thing which is actually giving out energy, food undergoing chemical change. But in digestion, it may not be exothermic. Sorry, I said earlier food has to be digested. That reaction may be actually endothermic. But this one is exothermic. The food is releasing energy. So, which energy our body is utilizing. Digestion is not exothermic, sorry. This is respiration. Respiration is the exothermic reaction where food gives out its energy. Now we come to the important question of what happens to waste and dead organisms in nature. We had talked about it earlier also. Once again, we must revisit that whenever something is eaten and or digested, firstly wastes are produced. So here also we saw that in this reaction, carbon dioxide is waste, even water is waste here. So some waste is always generated. When we digest food also, a lot of waste is generated. So in every reaction, So what waste is generated. So what is done by bodies, not bodies, what has happened, done to waste in an ecosystem. So Vivo is saying it is decomposed. Okay. By whom? So Dawa Richen is saying decomposed and converted into simpler forms, correct? Who does this? Who does the decomposition? Bacteria and other decomposers, microorganisms. It's not only bacteria and fungi often. So here we are seeing this dung lying and we see a fungus growing on it, some fungi growing on it, which are slowly digesting it. Of course, there are a lot of other bacteria, etc., which we cannot see. So this is decomposed slowly by actually this is food for microorganisms. They eat it themselves and then remove, take out waste from their bodies, which is simpler forms. So for them, this is food. Even for fungi, this is food. They digest it, eat the useful part, and throw out the non-useful part, which is used by the ecosystem as nutrients. So Prem Kumar is saying decomposition process occurred and then they proceed into humus for reserve into nutrition approach for living organisms again. Yes, correct. So this is how humus is generated in soil. This is like eaten up by microorganisms, first digested, eaten up, and waste thrown out, which create the humus or nutrients. And here, I mean, this is an excellent series showing a dead pig, its body changing so much over time in 5 steps, but this must have happened over months together. You can see how its body has decomposed and all has gone to nearby grass as waste materials. I mean, as simpler materials which will be slowly absorbed into the soil and by the grass itself. So all nutrients have been dissolved into simpler forms by bacteria and fungi. And here we have the same thing on video. It's again, once again, an excellent video, a little gross, but beautiful to see. So did you notice the large number of worms and insects, and here the same thing has been shown with fruits and vegetables. It's like a time-lapse video. And notice which vegetables decay first. So did you enjoy the video? And did you notice what did not decay at all? Of course, the potatoes grew into new plants, but what did not decay at all? And can you think why it did not decay? Yeah, garlic did not decay. Why? Yes, why did garlic not rot? Why was not it? Why wasn't it attacked by microorganisms? Actually, onions and garlic both did not decay. Why? People are saying it's dry comparatively, or it's aromatic. But you would notice that seeds also don't decay very fast, not easily. They have coverings. Yeah, but see the equivalence with seeds. Can you say why seeds also don't decay fast? And same here we are seeing with onions and garlic. Pema saying antibacterial property. Actually, it has to have antibacterial property because it has to produce the next generation. The plant has given it the task to grow the plant again. These are bulbs. They must last till the second season. Otherwise, the plant is dead. I mean, the onion or garlic plant would be gone forever. So same about seeds, they have to have some arrangement so that they last till the next season at least, if not further. So they have the ability. I mean, there has to be some special arrangement because they are supposed to be reproductive uh, parts of the plant. So they have to, I mean, not reproductive parts. They are supposed to bring the next generation. So whether hardcover or any other arrangement, they have to bring the next generation. They should not rot. So they do not rot. They do not get attacked by fungus inside. Outside, we see often the fungus layer on onion and garlic as well, but they do not rot from inside. Same with seeds, not easily. Right? They protect themselves. So anyway, here's another very nice video, which I will not show right now because it will take, because it's longer. I'll just show, I mean, we will give you the link and you can see it at home. This is a very interesting video to show children because you can ask them to count how many organisms visit it. So this has been kept with nighttime cameras also and daytime also. It's like constantly one can see this. It lies there for months being visited by a very large number of organisms, living beings, big or small, all sorts, and they eat its different parts. It's an excellent video, but instead of showing it fully, we will just give you the link, which you can later see at leisure. But it's fascinating to see how one gore body feeds so many other animals, birds also, and so on. So so if there is any comment or anything you want to say, please say. Otherwise, I'll start the next section. Prem Kumar is saying, I think this is not for permanent solution, that garlic won't be able to decades. He's saying it won't decay. Favorable and unfavorable response of environmental factors depends on absolutely. I mean, seeds also or bulbs will get destroyed under unfavorable circumstances, but they don't get destroyed easily. So there is, because they have to bring the next generation. They lie dormant. They lie dormant for a very long time. I mean, not necessarily for years or decades, but I mean, at least for a few years, for till the next crop comes, they do not, they lie dormant and blossom again. I mean, which means they give birth to new plants again. So friends, I think we should take a 5-minute break. So I will stop sharing because I am going to start on a new uh, topic, not new topic, a related topic. So 5 minutes break. Manisha, you can write on the screen also.
I will.
So it's 12:14 right now. We will come back at 12:20.
Yes, yes.
So friends, we are back now. And now I want to build the relationship between ecosystem and biodiversity. So first, our job is to define biodiversity. Would you define it for me? What will you say biodiversity is? Ruth Pradhan is saying variety of living organisms. What else? Manisha, I would request you to, participants are coming back. I would request you to give our YouTube link here where this session is streaming, and
Okay.
also and the WhatsApp group which we want all teachers to join, so that we will pass on resources there. So all the links we are saying, video links, etc., we will put on WhatsApp. We also want to pass on this PPT to you. We will pass it on as a video, so you can extract things from there, but not directly use it because it's a copyrighted. I mean, we have we are generating it. So please, so Manisha, please put the link of the WhatsApp group and YouTube link and Facebook page for all the teachers so that they can copy it. But please join the WhatsApp group. Currently, not very many teachers have joined it. I don't know how much it was circulated. But anyway, coming back to biodiversity, people are saying variety of living organisms. That's correct. So diverse forms of life on Earth, variety of flora and fauna. That's correct. Variety of plants, animals, and microorganisms. Yes. So I mean, it is always useful for. Trisha Nepal is also added the variety of plants and animals and their habitat. So I mean, if we break up the word, it's good for to break up words for children, especially big words. So bio or biological means life or life related. Diversity means variety, as you yourself said, variety and variability. So biological diversity has been shortened to biodiversity. So this is how the word is broken up. And it has, as you all know, yes, different forms of life, variety of species which are liable to be found in particular geographical environment. Yeah, so there are three levels at which it is defined often, or three levels at which we look at it. One is genetic, one is species, and one is ecosystems. So I mean, I will, I mean, if any of you know the examples, Manisha is posting the YouTube link and the other links. So please copy from there. So when we say genetic biodiversity, what do we mean by it? Can anyone say? I mean, as the name shows, it's diversity in genes within a single species. In a single species, we see different genes and therefore different. So Prem Kumar is saying by genetically interrelated. I mean, I will actually, well, I will show examples. Here is genetic diversity, which means it's corn only, but corn may exist of different varieties, and because it has, they have different genes. There's some differences or variation in genes. That's why they look different. They have different colors and many different characteristics. So this is genetic diversity within a species. Within one species, there is this diversity we see. I mean, in humans, we see humans of all kinds of skin colors or hair color or eye color or heights or body build or and muscle strength, etc. Hair also of different types, curly or straight or whatever. Yeah, as somebody is saying, dog breeds. So, I mean, it's the same species, but so much diversity within the same species because internally their genes are different. Different means not all different, but there is many features for which the genes are different, so they reflect differently in their body's behavior and characteristics. So this is genetic diversity. If you have any other example, you can give. I will now move on to species diversity. That whenever we notice any ecosystem or any part of nature, we see a very, very, very large number of species. So Manisha has also put the WhatsApp group, which we want all Sikkim teachers to join. So please join this WhatsApp group. Please copy it from the chat box. Okay, so here's species diversity. So, I mean, we have just put in random species and this we got from the net, but we can see that there's a very, very large number of species, different types of species within an ecosystem. So, which we call as species diversity. Here also, variety of species are shown here. Of course, every ecosystem will have different kinds, but there's a large number of species. And this is a very interesting example of beetles. Beetles are so diverse. So beetles and insects in general are so diverse that 1/4 of nature's organisms are beetles. Like 1/4 of diversity comes in beetles themselves. So beetles and insects are a very, very, very diverse group. There are some very beautiful beetles also in nature. So this is like variety of species. There are very, very large number of species within ecosystems. And then we come to the third kind, the bigger kind, ecosystem diversity itself. So there are many kinds of ecosystem, like you people had also named tropical rainforest, temperate forest, coniferous forest, Mediterranean forest, temperate grasslands, tropical grasslands or savanna, deserts and tundra and mountain ecosystems. And there are many more. I mean, there are many which are like water related or land related. So there's a huge variety in ecosystems as well. Now, we come to a very important question. I mean, all this is like factual information in a way and definition. But now we come to a very important question, which is this. Why do you think biodiversity is vital for an ecosystem? Why must an ecosystem have diversity? Why should it be necessarily there? I'm getting a little disturbance, so I will mute participants. If you want to speak, please ask on the chat and we'll unmute you. So why is biodiversity so important for an ecosystem? It's very, 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 very important, but why is it so important? What does it do? Think about it. It's not a simple question to answer. So Ruth Pradhan is saying maintains the balance. Before that, Priyadarshika is saying supports all life forms. Priyadarshika and Ruth, please like say in a little detail what do you mean, how it maintains balance, how biodiversity maintains balance. Yankee is saying for food chain, so how it maintains food chains, how it supports all life forms. You'll have to say, give a little more detail. So I will unmute each of you. Please, you can speak and tell us how do you think it maintains food chains or provides food or needs. So just a sec. Just give me a minute. I will. I'm asking Ruth Pradhan to unmute and say, then Priyadarshika. And I'm also unmuting Yankee. So any of you can speak. Yes, please. Geeta is saying there are different types of organisms living in the same habitat. Yes, which is what we call as biodiversity. But the question is why it is so important for an ecosystem. So Trisha is also saying it maintains a balance and supports life. Priyadeshka is saying without a wide range of animals, plants, and microorganisms, we cannot have a healthy ecosystem. Yes, very correct. But we'll have to think a little more. Why won't an ecosystem be healthy if it doesn't have a variety, large variety? Why won't it be healthy? So Sujan has said due to different food habits. Correct. So different organisms have eat different things. They eat different organisms. So therefore, firstly, their food needs have to be met. So that's one reason. So different kinds of food needs, they need to be met. So therefore, variety has to be present. Other reasons? Other reasons? Why is it so vital? I mean, to the extent of saying, we are saying that without biodiversity, an ecosystem would crash. If it doesn't have diversity, it will not sustain. Why? Why won't it be healthy? So, Prem Kumar has said biodiversity is vital for ecosystem. As species from biodiversity is not liable to adjust in ecosystem, then there will be no value of ecosystem for each individual species. Other is different food habits of species directly proportional towards relevant ecosystem. So he has also said that firstly, the different species need different kind of food. They need different kind of habitat or living spaces or different conditions. So therefore, but then I'm talking about biodiversity. Why different kinds of organisms? Like I said, it's not a simple question, but I'm coming to, you said food. Yes, food is a very important consideration. Food chains and food webs have to be maintained. So different organisms will eat different things. Therefore, food chains and food webs have to be maintained. And circulation of all materials. That's important. Like, I mean, okay, one kind of food is eaten up, but it must come back, right? So organisms have to regrow. They have to breed. They have to grow again. So if plants are eaten up, new plants must come up. If some insects are eaten up, more must be born. So a new breeding or new life must come up again and again. So for that, for new life to come, all material must circulate. All kinds of material, matter and energy must circulate, and which is something we'll show in a little detail. But we are so there is very intricate interdependence. We saw in the last session lots of relationship of different kinds. Some organisms provide something, others provide something else. There are decomposers which keep it clean. Decomposers eat excreta, and when they eat excreta, they release important nutrients, and so the nutrients must cycle back. Food in different forms must be available. Nutrients in different forms must be available. Very intricate interdependence, and for that is very important for a healthy ecosystem. This cannot happen in a monoculture. See, deliberately we are showing a counter example. I mean, this is some kind of agricultural field where one species is grown a lot by humans. Now, the complex interdependence which an ecosystem naturally has or naturally develops does not exist here. That's why these have to be supplied with manure and weedicides and pesticides, or maybe, I mean, many kinds of imports, etc. So because that complex food chains and food webs, some will be there, some will be present there. So there will be, maybe if it's an agriculture field, maybe pollination will happen by bees and insects, and microorganisms will still exist in the soil and do a lot of their jobs. But all food chains and all food webs will not exist here and will be actually disrupted, will be broken. So this is that complex and intricate interdependence, very intricate, which develops over a very long time, at times millions of years. That does not exist here. Only biodiversity ensures that all nutrients and matter recycle. With, notice that it does not recycle in an agriculture field. That's why you have to supply from outside. You have to supply manure, you have to supply fertilizers, etc. All nutrients and matter do not must recycle, and this is ensured by biodiversity. It has sufficient organisms of various kinds for this recycling. Food chains and food webs are maintained, wastes are decomposed, reused, and needs of organisms are met sustainably over years and years and years and years. Needs of organisms are constantly maintained. They come back, those organisms come back and their needs come back, so food comes back, everything that's needed by them comes back. It has to be sustained. So with that, I mean, biodiversity requires much more discussion, but we have just mentioned it briefly here because we have a separate session on biodiversity, which we are developing still. So we'll bring it to you sometime. But currently humans are destroying biodiversity, and therefore our ecosystems are getting destroyed. Just by planting trees of one kind, we do not build a biodiverse system, and therefore we are destroying ecosystems. So all this we are saying here does not get ensured if biodiversity is not there. Now we are saying an important thing: matter in cycle. All matter recycles in an ecosystem. This vital cycle must be continued in an ecosystem. And here, this is a diagram well taken from the net. So we are, I mean, showing that first producers are created, which means plants take birth, they develop, fill the system. There's a lot, there must be many plants because they are producers, they create food, they take from the environment. So here there's an environment. On the top you will see abiotic chemicals, which means carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, minerals. There should also be water mentioned here. So all the abiotic chemicals are present in the environment. So they are taken as matter by plants. Plants absorb all this from the environment. They grow, develop, multiply, and they are then consumed by, so this matter as plants is consumed by the animals, consumers. I mean, there should be herbivores first and then carnivores, but doesn't matter. It's like totality of animals consume plants for food. And then when these people, these animals, when they die, or their excretion, their dead bodies and excretion is then decomposed by bacteria and fungi to get back all these materials back to nature, back to the environment, which is carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, various minerals and water. All that must go back. So this matter is circulated in a cycle. And you are always saying heat here. This is waste heat shown here. We'll come to energy circulation, but currently we are interested in the matter going in this cyclic nature. Constantly matter is circulative. So this is shown here, but we will show here step by step. Firstly, I mean, this decomposition shouldn't have been written here. Sorry, our mistake. Firstly, we'll show these 4 elements: environment and soil, which means gases, minerals, water. So environment has all this matter inside. And then we have plants, we have animals, and we have other decomposers. So we have like bacteria and fungi here. So what do plants take from the environment? Quickly. I mean, I want quick answers from you. What do plants take? They are taking something from the environment. What are they taking? Minerals and carbon dioxide, water, and minerals, and light, of course. So, I mean, currently we are talking about matter cycle. So, okay. So plants are taking all this through primarily through photosynthesis, but minerals are taken, of course, from soil. And plants absorb all this matter and then they create their bodies. So, yes, absolutely. And then what do animals take from plants? Right now, I'm talking about matter. So what do animals take from plants? What do they get from plants? What do they get? Food. Yes, they eat plants. So, okay. I here the arrow shows that plants also give back to the environment. How do plants give back to the environment? All this, whatever comes in matter must go out. So how do plants give back? They give back, as we know, gases, water. I mean, they give back oxygen, they give back water as through transpiration, and they also give back minerals by their waste. When plants die, their bodies go back as minerals, right? Then animals get nutrition, or okay, plants give back through respiration also. They give back gases. So here we have shown. So there's one interaction of plants with the environment. So we have shown only photosynthesis and respiration. Of course, more processes can be added, but plants are in constant exchange with the environment. Then plants are eaten by animals. So plant bodies are taken in by animals. And then animals give back to the environment. How do they give back to the environment? The matter goes back to the environment from animals. How? They give matter back to the environment. So how does matter go back to the environment? From when they die? Yes, correct. In any other way? So when they, so once again, I mean, here we are shown that through respiration, they also give back gases. Through death and excretion, I mean, they give back. So gases are given out of respiration, and death and waste, through death and waste, more matter goes back to the environment, but not directly. Their animal bodies and waste has to be decomposed by decomposers. So, and of course, plants also need to be decomposed by decomposers. Whatever plant material, plant bodies or plant wastes have to be decomposed. So all these, whatever is either plants die or produce waste, for example, dead leaves, all that has to go to decomposers, which through a process of decomposition, take it back to environment. So this is how all matter cycles across nature. So matter is completely circulated. Yeah, excretory matter, excreta, carbon dioxide, as people are also saying. So everything is in circulation in the, all matter is in circulation in the environment. Is there any question, comment, or doubt, or anything? Doubt, disagreement, anything at this point? Because I'm after matter, I'm coming to energy. So if you are, if there's no objection to this, then I'll move ahead. So you have to tell me, yes, I can move, if you are comfortable with me. So Arpana has said yes. Others also. Shall I move ahead? So I'm coming to energy. See, matter is simple. Still easier to see how matter flows through the environment. But, and here, of course, we have shown simple carbon cycle. Again, we have a full session on carbon cycle. We have a full session on nitrogen cycle also, which we will take later. But very quickly, simple carbon cycle is shown that plants absorb CO2, they absorb carbon through carbon dioxide, then they build glucose using light. So that's how carbon enters plant bodies. Plant bodies go into animals, eaten by animals, and also go into, through life, death, and decay, go here. So all the carbon in the plant bodies is present in the decayed matter, which becomes fossil fuels, which is petroleum and coal. And through respiration of plants and animals, it goes back to as carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And so, which is shown here as gas exchange or breathing of animals. And here they have shown that these fossil fuels are burned. And when we burn fossil fuel, all the carbon goes back to environment as carbon dioxide. So very simple carbon cycle. Similarly, there is nitrogen cycle. I mean, in very simple terms, nitrogen in air is absorbed by either bacteria or lightning. It turns into nitrogen compounds and goes into soil, which then comes to plants to make proteins. Then plants are eaten, animals make their own proteins. Of course, we create fertilizers also, which are nitrogenous. We create nitrogenous fertilizers like urea and put them for plants to take in. So all this is in plant bodies to create proteins. All this goes to animal bodies, which create their own proteins. When they die, their dead bodies and their wastes give out all this these nitrogen compounds, which are once again broken down by bacteria and decomposers, so that nitrogen goes back into the air. I mean, here it is said very simply, but we will take 2 hours explaining nitrogen cycle, because we think children do not understand it. So we will do it some other time. Now, matter is cyclic, but energy is not. The earth requires to take energy, earth and the biosphere, the living beings on earth, life on earth, has to get energy constantly from outside, because energy flow is one way. So energy flows from the sun to plants through photosynthesis. It is absorbed in. Of course, energy is kept inside matter. When plants make glucose, that energy is locked up inside matter, inside food. And every process gives out some energy as waste heat. You will see heat written everywhere, because every process, every of these life processes, each of these life processes give out some waste heat. So some waste heat is given out by plants also. Plants are eaten by animals. So whatever food was inside plants is eaten by herbivores and then by carnivores. So that food goes in, and therefore through food, chemical energy goes in from one level to another. And everywhere where digestion is done or respiration is done, some energy is given out as waste heat, but some form of energy is trapped inside the bodies. So goes from herbivores to carnivores. And all these, when either die or produce waste, that is once again goes as food to decomposers. And that food also, the waste also has energy trapped inside, which decomposers utilized. Some of it is given out to the environment back again. But you see that here the flow of energy is one way, in one direction, from sun to plants, to herbivores, to carnivores, and from all these to the decomposers, and then to back to environment. Everywhere it's back to environment. So there is a flow we have also created. So you can see from the sun, the energy goes to primary consumers, which is plants. Primary producers, which are plants. So that's why we are writing P. P for producers. Plants are producing food, trapping the energy in food. So in their bodies, energy is trapped. So we are saying 100 units of energy is supposed trapped inside plants. Whatever sunlight falls on them, they can't trap all of it. They trap some, and suppose they generate 100 units of energy inside their bodies. We have shown it as green because the energy is trapped inside the body, inside their green bodies. Out of these are now eaten as food by the first level of consumers. So the first level of consumers, when they eat plants, these are primary consumers, like for example, grasshopper, we said, or like herbivores, we said. So these primary consumers, they are animals, and when they eat plants, they are typically able to utilize or get only 10% of this energy. Only 10% of this energy passes on to the next level. So that's why we have made a smaller box. A whole 10 times more plants have to exist for these many first level of consumers to exist. And then, so this 10% is the passing of energy. These units are of energy units. These are not matter units. So only 10% of energy is passed on further to the next level. And then herbivores are eaten by carnivores. And once again, only out of these 10 units of energy, only 1 unit of energy is trapped in carnivores. So there's a lot of loss of energy at every level. That's the important point being made here, that energy doesn't pass on so easily to next levels. It's constantly lost along the way as waste heat. Some is trapped inside bodies, but rest is going out as waste heat, as we are showing here. Lot of energy is given out as waste heat. Nobody can directly use this heat. Even plants can't use this waste heat in the atmosphere. They can only use sun's energy. This waste heat, even animals cannot absorb directly and utilize. This complex process has to happen for energy to get transmitted. Energy gets transmitted only as food, not directly, cannot be absorbed directly. Only plants have the capacity to absorb energy directly. So only food chain passes on energy, only matter passes on energy as food. not minerals, only as food. And then whatever energy is inside, trapped inside bodies, gets released to decomposes bodies or waste, again as in dead bodies or waste, which is again then when these decompose, then it will go back, will go back to the environment as heat. So this is how the energy flows, and that's why, I mean, because the lower unit is so big, then the upper unit is smaller and upper unit is smaller. That's why energy is made as a pyramid. It's pyramid because as at different levels, the trophic levels we go, the energy keeps getting smaller and smaller. It's not directly clearly understood. See, this energy pyramid is given in textbooks, but not really understood unless this is explained. We have tried to explain it simply, but I don't know how much I have succeeded. That's why we have only shown 3 levels and 10 units, 10 units, 10 units. And similarly, I mean, through these diagrams, we are trying that this process becomes clear. These are also simple diagrams which you will find on the net. But it's important to note that energy is non-cyclic, matter is cyclic. All matter is cyclic. All. There's nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, phosphorus cycle, sulfur cycle, sodium cycle, all calcium cycle. All matter is cyclic, but not energy. So with that, I have come to the end of my presentation, but you are free to ask, comment, anything that you want to say or add. This matter in energy flow and trophic levels is complicated. It is described in textbooks, but not really understood well. So that's why we have tried to somehow make it accessible so that children can understand it. We have done this with children also, but we have to keep trying to make it simple for children to understand. So any comments, I will allow you to unmute yourself. So if you want to say anything or ask, please do so. Like I said, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, biodiversity, these are separate sessions which will be taken sometime later. Anything you want to say, you can unmute yourself. If there are no comments, then the session ends from our side, but I can see much more excitement. I could see much more excitement last time than this time. So maybe in these ideas, we have been less successful. Hopefully over time, we will improve. No comment? And there are 71 people here. Nobody wants to say anything? Why the silence, friends? I mean, I don't want to end this session on your silence. So Geeta is saying thanks for this fruitful session. You are welcome, Geeta. But if you think that there are some concepts which are still hard for you to explain to children, or we have missed out here, please point out so that we can improve or work on that area. Particularly the second part, the last part, see, up to food web and food chain, it's not so difficult. But when it comes to matter and energy, it's certainly not simple. And even biodiversity is not simple. The importance of biodiversity is not appreciated well, which we will try again. Okay, Prem Kumar is saying this session is more deserving as compared to last one. Okay, if you think so. Okay, so Prem Kumar is saying he has taken screenshots. We will also pass on, friends, this is something I wanted to inform you that we are trying now to convert all sessions into PPTs. There are these videos are of course stored on the on YouTube channel as well as Facebook. Facebook has many old videos also, and even text documents. Everything that we do is developed as text documents. We are trying to refine them also. There are some old ones, there are some new ones, and we want to pass them on to teachers as resource material, so that if you want to utilize any of these ideas into your classroom, you are most welcome. I mean, all this is meant for India's children and India's teachers. So please, and this is free material for free usage. So please feel free. We will pass on the WhatsApp group. You can use it whichever way you like. And if you give us feedback, that will be very useful. Feedback means if you have difficulty in explaining certain things in your classrooms, or you don't know what to do about those concepts, things that children don't understand easily, because this is our primary objective, primary objective for which Joy of Learning Foundation exists. We will try working on them further. When we do this with a large number of topics, we are continuously working. So we give months together on each topic. So a luxury which teachers don't have. Teachers have to constantly work through their days, their weeks and months and years. So that's why we want to support you from behind, and therefore work on topics and provide whatever seems good to us, ideas, experiments, observations, questions, and so on, which can be helpful for classroom. Deepika Sharma is saying, can we conduct sessions on Saturdays? Certainly we can. Actually, this time also, I asked your state education department. Then the department said Saturday is a half day. So you tell me, if teachers prefer Saturday, we can shift to Saturday. For us, Saturday is not a problem. You suggest timings and we will accordingly shift. So if you want, on the WhatsApp group, we will take a poll from you for day and time, which suits everyone. I mean, of course, larger number of people have to say that they are comfortable with this time or this day, then we'll accordingly. The department has actually, your education department is very encouraging. They have left it between us and you. So any time you think will work for you, we can shift to that. And we will rotate between physics, chemistry, and biology. Physics, chemistry, biology, and environmental science. We'll try bringing all the code to the extent we can, because we work on all the code. Environment is actually harder. Ecology is, or ecosystem is, an environment related topic actually. So it's harder in many ways. So we will try bringing ecosystems, or I mean, like environment related topics also. But if there's any other suggestion, please give. So shall I end now then? I mean, because there's no other suggestion. Manisha, can you copy what Prem Kumar Buragai has written? I can't copy from the chat. I don't know why.
I will try.
So suggestions, if they come, we can copy and keep. But and of course, like we were doing earlier, we have a feedback form also, which we will circulate. So you can, whenever you want to say something very specific, there's some specific topic you want or certain concepts you want, you can always indicate to us, and we'll try incorporating it in our sessions. So these sessions will hopefully go on through the year. I mean, at times we can stop when it's exam time for you and it's hard for teachers to attend, then we'll stop. But otherwise, we want to continue once every week. So, okay, friends, happy that you liked the session and it was useful for you. So next time we haven't decided what will be there next week, and out of Friday or Saturday, whichever you'll say, we'll keep. So I'll end for now. Bye and see you next time.
Okay, sir.